A minute. Recording.
Good evening and welcome everyone to the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Today is November 6th. This is a special meeting and it's currently 6:08. And I just want to ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And what?
Go out the other ones out there. It looks like he's carrying breadsticks. Supposed to be the Tin Man.
Yeah,
The other picture, the hand drawn one.
is that him with a picture? No. Okay, we digress.
Looks like a driver.
To the roll call. We're gonna do roll call. June Daly.
Here.
Andrew Lou Millard.
Here.
Diane Jorsey.
Here.
Timothy Zigma. Ryan Rogan.
Here.
Scott Hamill.
Present.
And also John Dyken
Here.
and Steve Biella Jr.,
Not here yet.
but not here. And myself, Joan Veely. All righty, so we have a quorum and thank you all for attending. So
Madam Chair, I understand that there's an executive session on the agenda that's scheduled for the last item. I make a motion to move it to the first item.
okay, we have a motion by Ms. Jorsey to move the executive session.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hamel. Further discussion on this, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. And just to note that the time is 6:11. And also, we're going to invite we will have the whole commission as has been roll called. Also, we're going to invite the planner, our staff, Maureen Giusti, and also our consultant, Glenn Chandler to Chowder.
Isn't an attorney coming in somehow?
We're gonna ask Glenn, our consultants, to attend as well. And,
Jonas, is an attorney coming sometime? Oh,
She's on her way.
she's on her way, so we gotta invite her.
Who?
Invite.
Your attorney.
Oh, yeah, the attorney, Jennifer,
Your
Capola.
Attorney.
So we need a motion.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss. Maureen, I don't have the agenda.
Litigation?
To discuss the status of pending litigation of Little House Living versus Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission in the town of Berlin, and to consider whether to convene an executive session to discuss the status of the pending litigation of Little House Living versus Berlin Planning and Zoning for 554 Berlin Turnpike Associates LLC versus Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission in the town of Berlin. And we would like to invite Jennifer Coppola, Maureen Giusti, and Glenn Chalder to be present with us.
Okay, we have the motion by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. Rogan for the discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed,
Aye.
so moved. Okay.
There you go. A minute to.
That's it. Hurry.
Okay, welcome. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I need a motion to exit the executive session.
So moved.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Rogan has the second, and for the record, the time is 8:37. Okay, continuing on to our agenda. We have an application of 1906 Berlin LLC prepared by Christopher J.
On the doors.
Oh, you get open.
Now we gotta open the door. Wait a minute.
I will take a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, I think that. We have the.
5 minutes or 10 minutes?
Do we read this?
Let me just.
Oh, my.
We're gonna have a recess.
Yep. We're gonna have to do a recess to
Do you
read
need a
through something?
motion?
Yes, please. Somebody
Make a motion for a 5-minute recess,
5 minutes or 10? 10.
10-minute recess.
All right, amended to 10. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Okay, we have to recess now for 10 minutes. See you all soon. Thank you all for your. Thank you all for your extended patience, and the time for the record is 9:22. And I need a motion to come out of recess.
Make motion to come out of recess.
Thank you, Mr. Hamel. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zigmont. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. So now the application of 1906 LLC prepared by Christopher J. Smith Esquire, Alter and Pearson LLC, submitted pursuant to Connecticut's General State Statutes 8-30G, Affordable Housing Land Use Appeals, the proposed zone text amendment to create the new 11 EE Planned Residential Infill Development Inclusionary Multifamily Residential Use with a housing opportunity or workforce component. So, Commission. We've had time to deliberate.
Well, at the last meeting, we had discussion about whether it made sense to move forward with compromise language for the text amendment, and opted to ask Jennifer to draft a motion on our behalf, taking into consideration what our intention was with respect to the next item on the agenda for the site plan, because we had already asked for her to also draft a motion based on our discussions for that as well. So she has presented me with a motion for the text amendment as requested, and so I will start with that.
Okay.
I make a motion to deny the application of 1906 Berlin LLC prepared by Christopher J. Smith Esquire, Alter and Pearson LLC, submitted pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes Section 8-30G, Affordable Housing Land Use Appeals, for a zone text amendment to create new section 11 EE, Planned Residential Infill Development, Inclusionary Multifamily Residential Use with a housing opportunity or workforce housing component, because a denial of the text amendment application is necessary to protect substantial public interests in health, safety, and other matters which the Planning and Zoning Commission may legally consider, and these public interests clearly outweigh the need for affordable housing in the town of Berlin and cannot be protected by making reasonable changes to the proposed text amendment, and more specifically, that the application should be denied for the following reasons. 1, the proposed text amendment negatively affects substantial interests in matters of health, safety, and welfare for residents of the proposed development and neighboring properties because A, the text amendment does not contain any. The screen went black. No, it's, now I have emails. Is it? I was just doing the. A, the text amendment does not contain any requirement for recreational space, and other open spaces essential to enhance the quality of life and welfare for residents. This is inconsistent with existing affordable housing and other multifamily development regulations in the Berlin zoning regulations that require recreational uses and open spaces. B, while amenities are identified as a permitted use, there are no required amenities. For example, other multifamily developments have been approved with walking trails and other connections to the natural environment, benches, roofed structures, clubhouses, and/or fitness facilities and the like. The density proposed is as much as 22 units per 1 gross acre. Such density is not in the best interests of the residents and will likely result in negative impacts. D, the minimum setbacks of 10 feet for front and side and 5 feet for rear, particularly in combination with the proposed area, density, and height requirements, are not in the best interests of the residents and will likely result in negative impacts. E, the proposed impervious surface of 90% of gross lot area is not in the best interests of the residents and will likely result in negative impacts. F, a minimum parking requirement of 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit without regard to the ratio of said requirement to the projected number of occupants is not consistent with the professional testimony the commission has received when reviewing other multifamily projects. G, the limitation on documents required to be submitted to the commission as part of the application process unnecessarily and improperly restricts review of an application by the commission and limits the guidance it can receive from professional consultants to ensure that all considerations regarding public health, safety, and welfare are taken into account. 2, the proposed text amendment negatively affects substantial interests in other matters which the Planning and Zoning Commission may legally consider because A, the town adopted the detailed 2022 through 2027 affordable housing plan made part of the record, and the commission is actively engaged in executing the goals and strategies in the plan within its authority, including completion of its review of existing zoning regulations, and is in the process of having its planning consultant prepare additional text amendments to expand affordable housing opportunities contained in the zoning regulations. B, the proposed deed restriction of 40 years is contrary to recent discussions by the commission. The content of the town's 2022 through 2027 affordable housing plan and recommendations received from the town's commission's planning consultants to require a longer restriction period to maintain the town's percentage of affordable housing stock in the best interests of individuals in need of affordable housing. C, the proposed regulation requires affordable units to be comparable rather than identical to the market rate units. D, the proposed regulation does not require the equitable distribution of affordable units within a development. E, the commission, its consultants, and staff repeatedly requested that the applicant revise its proposed regulation and affordability plan to increase the term of deed restriction and to allow for commission review and approval of the administrator of the affordability plan in order to maintain the affordable units in a development as such and ensure that the administrator was qualified to oversee the administration of an affordability plan in the best interests of those in need of affordable housing, but the applicant refused. F, the applicant indicated on the record that adoption of the regulation was not necessary. And I believe that that is the entire motion.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jorsey, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Rogan. Do we have further discussion on the motion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved. Okay.
Roll
It was
call.
unanimous.
To, it appeared to have been unanimous. I don't need a roll, or should I do a roll regardless?
No. Okay.
Good, making sure.
All right.
Got that.
Thank you. All right, and item 2 is the application for a site plan approval to permit a 52-unit multifamily residential community known as Spruce Brook Apartments on real properties known as 1906 Berlin Turnpike. This is map 21-2, block 115, lot 7, 1934 Berlin Turnpike, which is map 21-2, block 115, lot 8, and 0 Berlin Turnpike, which is map 21-2, block 115, lot 8A. Commission.
Also, at our last meetings, we had requested Jennifer to assist us in drafting a motion, and we discussed the draft motion at our last meeting and have a final version that I will move forward with making.
I do want to just note for the record, because you said you had asked myself, well, it was definitely also noted for the record that staff and the consultants were going to contribute as well. So I just want to make the point, because on the last motion too, there was contribution from your planning consultant in particular. Many of those items were items that were noted in his report. So and then this motion too had input from Brandon Anfield, your consulting engineer, as well as Mr. Tralder and Maureen Juicy, your planner.
Mhm,
I
That's,
just wanted to note that.
yep, that's accurate. And the request for the assistance with the motion was based on our discussions during the meetings involving those contributions. So I'll move forward with this. I make a motion to deny the application of 1906 Berlin LLC, prepared by Christopher J. Smith Esquire, Alter and Pearson LLC, submitted pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 8-30G, Affordable Housing Land Use Appeals for site plan approval to permit a 52-unit multifamily residential community, Spruce Brook Apartments, on the real properties known as 1906 Berlin Turnpike, 1934 Berlin Turnpike, and 0 Berlin Turnpike, map 21-2, block 115, lot 8A, because a denial of the site plan application is necessary to protect substantial public interests and health, safety, and other matters which the Planning and Zoning Commission may legally consider, and these public interests clearly outweigh the need for affordable housing in the town of Berlin and cannot be protected by making reasonable changes to the proposed site plan, and more specifically, that the application should be denied for the following reasons. 1, the proposed site plan negatively affects substantial interests in matters of health for residents of the proposed development and neighboring properties because A, the proposal does not contain sufficient recreational space and other open spaces essential to enhance the quality of life and welfare for residents. This is inconsistent with existing affordable housing and other multifamily development regulations in the Berlin zoning regulations that require recreational uses and open spaces. B, there are no amenities. There should be shared common areas and amenities. For example, other multifamily developments have been approved with walking trails and other connections to the natural environment, benches, roofed structures, clubhouses, and/or fitness facilities, and the like. The development itself lacks walkability and connectivity, as well as proximity to public recreation areas. C, no specific information was provided to the commission regarding the area of past filling activities, including the origination of and amount and type of past fill. Furthermore, the applicant conducted soil testing only in the area in which the stormwater infrastructure is proposed to be installed. The failure of the applicant to quantify and classify the past fill from an environmental and structural standpoint makes it impossible for the commission to assess potential impacts prior to rendering its decision on the application. D, the unknown suitability of the past fill was raised during the public hearing. If testing of past fill results in the need to remove the fill, there is a clear likelihood that the removal process will have impact on public health, including but not limited to environmental impacts of moving the unsuitable fill and the traffic and other impacts generated by the vehicles and other equipment that will be used in the removal. Also, due to the topographic constraints of the properties, it is likely that the testing of the past fill and the removing of any unsuitable past fill will impact neighboring properties, and easements will be required for this work to be performed. The trash removal plan, use, and location of the dumpsters for the development is inadequate and has the likelihood of impacting the health of the residents of the development. And I think that's supposed to be in
So that should be E.
E.
I apologize, I see that.
Paragraph E. 2, the proposed, let me just make a note. The proposed site plan negatively affects substantial interests in matters of safety for residents of the proposed development and neighboring properties because A, the applicant submitted no operation and maintenance plan for the retaining wall. The viability of the development relies on the proper operation and maintenance of the retaining wall. In the event that the retaining wall does not properly function, the public safety will be in jeopardy given the proximity of the wall to parking, walkways, etc. B, the development was not designed to provide access to the fire department's largest apparatus. Therefore, impacts to emergency response capabilities and provision of services may be compromised. C, multiple buildings have no rear egress and combined with limited access for emergency apparatus, equipment, and personnel, it is apparent that this lack of rear egress will result in substantial impacts to the safety of occupants of these buildings. D, the current proposed access and maintenance shelf is grossly insufficient to accommodate emergency apparatus, equipment, and personnel. There is an inability to ladder the buildings to all floors of occupancy and the roof. Also, the required easements as proposed will not accommodate the increase of the maintenance shelf. E, any extension of the maintenance shelf will significantly change the grade or slope to the top of the retaining wall to be non-compliant. F, there is insufficient access to public transit. Access and proximity of an affordable housing development to public transit is critical to meet the transportation needs of eligible applicants for residents of the affordable housing units. Insufficient access to public transit may lead to residents utilizing unsafe means of transit unsuitable for the location of the development on the Berlin Turnpike, such as walking, biking, riding, etc., or bike riding, etc. G, the proposed grading for the development, which will result in steep slopes, has the likelihood of negatively impacting the residents and their guests and other visitors to the development. Alternatives were suggested to the applicant to make adjustments to the proposed grading to address the steep slopes that were not given due consideration. 3, the proposed site plan negatively affects substantial interests in other matters which the Planning and Zoning Commission may legally consider because A, the easements depicted on the site plan are essential to access, grading, drainage, and provision of utilities. The applicant's failure to secure the required easements was raised throughout the public hearing process. Although the applicant has conceded that it cannot proceed with the development without first obtaining these required easements, to approve the application without the easements being submitted in support of the application is tantamount to the commission allowing an applicant to obtain an approval without the authority or consent and knowledge of the owners of the proposed easement property. If any of the owners of the easement property had no knowledge of the submission of the site plan and the related public hearing, their opportunity to learn about and comment on the impacts on their property was lost. This is contrary to principles of fundamental fairness and due process that are to be afforded through the public hearing process. In addition, the Commission's site plan application requires that a letter of authorization be submitted by the applicant to act on behalf of the certified property owners for matters related to this application if required. If the applicant had obtained the authorization of all owners of the easement property, not only would it have afforded them the appropriate notice of the application, but also provided the Commission and its staff and consultants the ability to access the easement property as part of their review and consideration of the application. B, there is insufficient access to public transit. Access and proximity of an affordable housing development to public transit is critical to meet the transportation needs of eligible applicants for residents of the affordable housing units.
If I could just interrupt you here. So you'll notice that this was placed under both safety and then other matters. So the reason why it was placed under other matters is because in our opinion, obviously it's a planning zoning issue. It's a planning issue for the Commission. It's something that, you know, you've heard so much about the proximity to public transit as being something that's necessary for these types of development, again, to accommodate other needs of the individuals who are in need of affordable housing. The transportation need is a significant need for them. They don't necessarily have a vehicle of their own. They're not necessarily able to afford them. And obviously the maintenance of a vehicle, the cost of gas and so on and so forth. So that's why we actually put it under both.
C, per the 2022 Affordable Housing Appeals List, 8.80% of Berlin's housing stock is affordable. The Berlin zoning regulations provide numerous affordable and assisted housing opportunities, including provisions for neighborhood affordable housing developments, accessory dwelling units, the Kensington Overlay Zone, and the Berlin Turnpike Development Zone, hospitals and independent living facilities, and workforce housing provisions. Recent amendments to the zoning regulations have enhanced these opportunities, including workforce housing map and related text amendments, Berlin Turnpike Development Zone density bonus and map amendments, revisions to the planned residential infill development regulation, and Kensington Village density bonus amendments. As a result of these extensive affordable housing opportunities, in addition to older affordable housing developments, there are several new affordable housing developments which have received approval from this Commission that are in the permitting stage of construction that will add to Berlin's affordable housing stock, including 1, an 88-unit, 30% affordable workforce housing development that is anticipated to obtain all certificates of occupancy by the end of 2023 calendar year. 2, a 200-unit, 20% affordable development, which is in the permitting stage with foundations under construction in the Berlin Turnpike Development Zone. And 3, a multifamily 20% affordable development at 309 Main Street, East Berlin, is under construction. In addition, the Housing Authority, in conjunction with the town, has obtained approval for a 50-unit senior affordable housing project. D, in addition to the above, the town adopted the detailed 2022 through 2027 affordable housing plan made part of the record, and the Commission is actively engaged in executing the goals and strategies in the plan within its authority, including completion of its review of existing zoning regulations, and is in the process of having its planning consultant prepare additional text amendments to expand affordable housing opportunities contained in the zoning regulations. E, The commission, its consultants and staff repeatedly requested that the applicant revise its proposed affordability plan to increase the term of the deed restriction and to allow for commission review and approval of the administrator of the affordability plan in order to maintain the affordable units in the development as such and ensure that the administrator was qualified to oversee the administration of the plan in the best interests of those in need of affordable housing, but the applicant refused. F, it is anticipated that with completion of the listed projects, Berlin will reach the 10% threshold and be exempt from the affordable housing appeals procedure.
So there was one item that was discussed last time that Commissioner Rogan raised that we weren't quite sure that we understood regarding school children. You had said something with regard to school children and the access to public transit, and we weren't quite sure what you meant by that. So I don't know if you want to further comment to add to the motion.
Sure,
Apologize for that, but we weren't able to
no,
figure out what
to
the meaning.
clarify, because, school buses are a form of public transportation getting kids to school. And with there not being safe access from the interior of the development where the housing units are to the Berlin Turnpike where a school bus would pick them up, it means that they'd be walking pretty much in the road, which had no sidewalks, where you have 52 units of cars coming in and going. So I thought that or as I see it, there's a safety risk to those kids as they try and access the school bus, which is going to be picking them up in the turnpike.
So is that an amendment to my motion?
Yes.
I'll accept that amendment.
Okay, so we have the motion that's been amended. Now, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Zigma. Further discussion on the motion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. And I think that concludes our business for today. So I will ask at this hour, it's 9:48.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, motion to adjourn by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Hamel. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Thank you all.
Have a good night.
Good night, Steve.